Thank you very much. My relinquishment document, Overseas Adoption Immigration Release Statement, dated January 18th, 1975, states, birthplace unknown, name unknown, sex female, date of birth about 8 months, time found January 17, 9 p.m., place found in front of Holt Children's Services Office, found by Kim Sun Up. Note, child was found abandoned wearing red pants, white socks, pink sweater, pink vest over sweater. We certify that above child has been abandoned. Shin Kyung-ho, Director of the Shin-kyo Branch Office. Holt Children's Services, K-6596, date of birth May 12, 1974, sex Korean female, intaken January 20th, 1975. All I have of my life in Korea, my homeland and the land of my ancestors, is a handful of documents. An initial social history, a few medical records including the dates of my immunizations for a skin test, DPT, polio, measles, child's progress report, a hojuk on which I am the chief of my own family of one, and a pre-flight child report. I was adopted through the Holt Adoption Program Incorporated based in Eugene, Oregon, U.S., founded by farmer Harry Holt. The story of the origins of the Holt Adoption Program is told as such. In 1954, Harry, 1904 to 1964, and Bertha Holt, 1904 to 2000, were busy raising their 6 children on a farm near the small Willamette Valley city of Cresswell. In addition to farming, Harry ran a lumber company. Bertha, trained as a nurse, was a homemaker and mother. After seeing a documentary film about GI babies of the Korean War in orphanages in Korea, the Holts decided they would adopt some of the children who needed families. Harry began preparations to go to Korea, and Bertha asked a friend how to go about adopting 8 children from another country. Learning that it would be possible only if both houses of Congress passed a law allowing it, Bertha Holt decided to push for such a law. 2 months later, the Holt Bill was passed, and in October 1955, Harry Holt and 8 children arrived at the Portland International Airport. The resulting publicity stirred interest among many families in the United States. The Holts set about helping others to adopt, leading to the creation of the foundation. My work as a poet is strongly influenced by my experience and condition of being a transnational Korean adoptee, as well as living as an immigrant and Asian American woman in the United States. It continues to be a lifelong journey to understand my place in the world as a Korean-born U.S. citizen and as a literary citizen. Because there is so much mystery and so little to be known about my Korean parents, family, lineages, and ancestors, my life has an absence at its center. As I am a mother of 2, I have started my own family tree, but my children will never know their Korean grandparents or whether they have aunts and uncles, cousins, etc. When Korea began sending its most vulnerable children overseas, officials and social workers and missionaries no doubt did not think much about how the loss of culture, language, and ancestral stories and places would affect these children and their descendants. Psychologist Dr. Pauline Boss has named this kind of trauma ambiguous loss, and it was first applied to families grieving for their relatives who were missing in action or prisoners of war, and those who were struggling to relate in a new way to living family members with Alzheimer's, dementia, and memory loss. Adoptees and birth mothers and fathers and other family members, if they have not reunited, may suffer disenfranchised grief and ambiguous loss. Many of the themes, such as grief, purity, monstrosity, genealogical disruption, language loss, gender oppression, nationalism, I have developed and returned to throughout my 3 books of poetry, 2 essay anthologies I've edited or co-edited, and my bilingual Korean children's book, derived from my situation as a former legal orphan of South Korea, a child that South Korea as a state decided it could not keep. As a writer, my medium is language and words and signs and symbols laid onto paper. My birth date and my name are fictions. They are paper facts invented for state bureaucracy. Having been turned into a native English speaker instead of a native Korean speaker that I was born to be means that I have spent the majority of my life living, thinking, and dreaming in a foreign language. Like Gregor in Kafka's story, The Metamorphosis, I have undergone a one-way transformation, and even if I were to become fluent in Korean, it would not undo the processes that rendered me into a Korean American. I will often be seized by a deep desire to relearn Korean, and then I feel a kind of rebellion against it. I fetishize Hangul, and I have incorporated it into my poetry as objects for scrutiny, both out of a wonder, respect, and a sense of alienation and rejection. Some of my strongest literary influences have been Korean women writers, such as the poet Myung-mi Kim, who was a Korean immigrant to the United States. It was her work first that showed me a way to writing poetry in English that captured some of the experience of being a Korean immigrant. The first book by her I encountered, thanks to a mentor, was Under Flag. The Poetry Foundation describes her this way. Myung-mi Kim was born in Seoul, Korea. She immigrated with her family to the United States at the age of 9 and was raised in the Midwest. She earned a BA from Oberlin College, an MA from the Johns Hopkins University, and an MFA from the University of Iowa. Her collection of poems, Under Flag, won the Multicultural Publishers Exchange Award of Merit. Subsequent collections include The Bounty, Dura, Commons, River Antes, and Penury. An avant-garde poet who often employs fragmentary language and uses the white space of the page, Myung-mi Kim explores issues of dislocation, colonization, immigration, loss of her first language, and the fallout of history in her work. Eric Weinstein, poetry editor for Prick of the Spindle, commented in a review, "Penury instantiates exactly that, a poetics of extreme and devastating lack, an inadequacy and insufficiency of language designed to mirror the extraordinary poverty of its subjects." The first section of Under Flag astonished me, as it inscribed a condition of citizenship and language alienation that I previously had no language for. It seemed to me that her poetry was a poetry of silence as well as utterance. The word must relayed the conditions of dominance and patriotism of any subject under a flag or flag without the article a. Must it ring so true? So we must sing it, to span even yawning distance, and would we be near then? What would the sea be if we were near it? Voice. It catches its underside and drags it back. What sound do we make? N, H, G. Speak, and it is sound in time. As I find myself to be a poet whose every work in English seems to drag with it a stubborn, mournful shadow self that is as if in slow motion or in time travel, thinking, dreaming, and writing in Korean, the poetry of Myung-mi Kim, Teresa Hak-kyung-cha, and Korean women writers such as Kim Hae-soon and Han Kang have made space for my examination of my own life as a post-Korean Civil War diasporic person, and how Han, or something like it, will be a common condition of many 21st century Korean and Korean American women writers. Thank you.